Torah Garden, speaking the absolute truth. Torah Nation.
Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Yasharal and Yahuda, grafted in Gentiles into the body of Mashiach. Listen, we the people of the book broadcasters going down, worshiping and celebrating Yahuwah on this Shabbat, called by him, mandated by him, saying unto me, Son of Adam, warn the people. Warn Yasharal, warn Yahuda that they need to repent. Warn them that they need to not only repent, but they need to turn. They need to turn away from the ways of the heathen. They need to turn away from all these diabolical elves. They need to turn to me through faith in Mashiach Yahusha, Yah's salvation, the anointed one. Abba, we thank you. Listening to none other than the Aki Hezekiah. I always point up there because my monitor's there. The Aki Hezekiah. The song is entitled Jerusalem. I don't own the rights to this music. Abba Yahuwah Toda Rabbah. Abba Toda Rabbah. For granting me another rest, granting me another opportunity to present a Torah to your people and to those that are of the nation that want to receive the witness of Mashiach Yahusha. Abba, I praise you for an opportunity to be a mouthpiece for you. Abba, in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, I declare that you have total reign of my lips and total reign of my tongue by your Ruach Ha'Qodesh that you have put in my belly, that has caused rivers of living water to flow. Abba, I praise you right now in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach. Abba, I take authority over everything that's not like you. Abba, every demon and devil, I bind you. Every unclean Ruach, every perverse Ruach, every unholy Ruach, I bind you. Every demon, every devil that has set itself up against the children of Yahuwah, or those that Yahuwah has yet to pull in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, I bind you. Everyone that is intended to hear this word, I pray in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach that this word would be received. Devils, I bind you. You have no authority over the people of Yahuwah. In the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, I bind you. Abba, you said that you have given me the keys to the kingdom of the Shamayim, that I may war a good warfare. And I bind demons and devils in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach. You said whatever I bind on earth is bound in the Shamayim. Whatever I loose on earth is loosed in the Shamayim. Demons and devils, take your hands off of those that Yahuwah has chosen. Loose your hold. In the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, Abba, I pray that no one is caused to stumble. No one is turned out of the way, and no one comes up lame. Abba, I pray in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, as your Torah goes forth, it would have free course. No demon, no devil is going to stand in the way of Yahuwah's people that he has chosen from receiving this word, this Besorah, this Torah. And Abba, in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, I give your name the praise. Abba, I give your name the glory, the honor. In the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, Abba, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. I thank you. I thank you. Toda. Abba Yahuwah Rabbah, I praise you. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, listen. Again, we were listening to none other than the Aki Hezekiah. Song is entitled Jerusalem, and I don't own the rights to this music. Again, as I told you before, and I tell you all the time, Yahuwah sent me to warn Yasharal and Yehuda. Right? This is a responsibility that I have. to warn them to turn from the ways of the heathen, right? Turn from the ways of the heathen and be restored as a people unto him, serving him in the beauty of qodeshness, holiness, serving him as a set-apart people, being a light that he has called you to be. Now, understand this has nothing to do with the Lord and Jesus, or Jesus. Nothing whatsoever to do with that, right? That is pagan. They are not the same. Yahuwah is not the same as the Lord. And he is not, Yahusha is not the same as the earth pig. They have worked their images, they have worked their L's into a text that was an original text, that was a Torah and a Besorah that pointed to belief and trust in Yahuwah and looking to his salvation, Yahusha, Yah salvation, for the redemption of a people, Yasharal and Yehuda, and an olive branch to those that are of the other nation who would receive the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach to enter in to a future kingdom that Yahuwah has established. That's what this is. This is what it is, right? This is what this is, right? Yasharal and Yehuda was given a Torah. They were given a Torah. It was already predetermined. In the book of Jubilees, the first chapter, second chapter, Yahuwah points to a people that he has chosen from amongst all the people. That people are the descendants of Avraham through Yitzhak and Yaakov, whose name was changed to Yasharal or Yisrael, Yasharal, right? That name brought forth a nation, right? A nation of tribes that were the people of Yahuwah, right? People. He had a people from amongst the people, right? And that's you, Yasharal and Yehuda. That's you. And understand this, Yahuwah loves you. Yahuwah loves you. Even when you were yet in sin, right? He sent Mashiach Yahusha to be a kinsman redeemer to you. He purchased your yeshu'ah through faith in the blood of his son. He brought a restoration to you, a people, but did not just not to you, but extends to those who are of the other nation that wants to serve him in the spirit of holiness, qodeshness, right? So, understand this. Once you have, and this word is a continuation of the last word that I did in referencing to a warfare, right? And understand we are at war, right? War. We used to play a game, I declare war. I think it was with cards on it. Everybody would have to put down something. But anyway, the idea is that you're in a war. A war, right? You wage warfare, strategies, right? Ways of moving and getting around, and a plan, right? To establish a victory, right? Right? And you are the people of Yahuwah that you must expect there to be a war. Right? Right? Now let's look at definition here, right? I mean, and we've looked at it before, but we're gonna look at it again, right? So it says here, let's see, pull it up, okay. Right? War. Right? First of all, what is a war? What? War. War is a state of usually open and declared armed conflict. It's an armed conflict. So you don't go to war without the right equipment, right? You don't go to a battle, right, with slingshots, right, and arrows against someone who has guns and bullets. If you do, you have to wage a good warfare, because their weapons are in fact superior to yours, right? Which gives them an advantage, right? No one goes to war without understanding who they're warring with. They don't go to a battle, right, without proper reconnaissance, right? Without understanding how the enemy moves, right? Oftentimes nations will set up spies, and they will go into a country presenting themselves as civilians or as someone who is showing an allegiance to a nation of people. They will win and gain their support through charitable stuff or whatever they do, right? This is the Western playbook. Whatever they do, right? Right? And at the same time, they're moving in and out, trying to find and locate the strengths that these armies possess in the places that they possess them in, whether they be guns, tanks, ammunition, drones, any of that thing. They'll try to gain information in order to send it back to their nation, right? With the expectation of when they go to war, they will have an advantage. Warring, right? It says here, a state of usually open and declared armed hostility, conflict between states and nations, right? You openly declare it. You know, most nations, right, they don't just go in secretively and bomb. But they do. They do. I won't say that, because they do. These devils do that, right? But when you go to war, it's a declaration. You know, the United States, in order to declare war, they have to have approval, right? So once war is declared, it is a declaration, which is the permission to carry out said warfare against those that they have gone to battle with because of some conflict, right? Conflict, right? Right? It says here, right? A state of hostility, conflict, or antagonism. There is something that these nations are experiencing between themselves that represent a struggle, that represents a hostility, that represents a conflict, right? So what happens is they declare war. Now, warfare, right? Warfare is the military operation. So the military operation, or the way of the strategy that you are going to employ has everything to do with the warfare, right? Military operations between enemies, right? So I have a military operation, right? Code name, Get Them Brews, right? Operation code name, Get Them Brews, right? So there is this strategy to go into this nation, right? To go in and conduct reconnaissance after you've gotten your information and you have located key critical infrastructures, located where troops, where weaponry, where everything that is needed for them to engage in the war is, right? You know the location of these things so that if you want to get the upper hand in the battle, right? And you want to, say, destroy said things, right? You put your enemy at a disadvantage, right? And in this disadvantage, right, you can win or you can advance, you can move your way into this conflict, this planned strategic warfare, right? And take control, right? Take control. So the warfare, the conflict, right, is not just something that you jump into, right? Let me see, what am I looking for? Is it Luke? Yeah. Luke 14 and 25, right? Now, when considering going to war, right, you have to assess your power. You have to know your strengths, right? You have to understand and recognize your weaknesses, right? You have to try, in lieu of the battle, to fortify those things that represents weakness, right? To the point where when you are engaged in war, you can meet that conflict with equal conflict, right? In law enforcement, there was a matrix or an order that we were told to follow in reference to engagement, right? The idea is to engage someone, right, that is a threat, right, with equal or elevated force, right? Right? So, example, if someone attacks me with a knife, and I am a law enforcement officer, right, I immediately go to equal or elevated force, right, with the expectation of getting this individual to comply by either releasing the knife, right, or if he chooses not to and he comes at me, right, to do me bodily harm, right, I will match that force with 2 rounds, right? No, we were taught 2 to the chest and 1 to the head. 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, right? That's military, law enforcement, meeting force with force, right? Equal. Now, if you choose to use your baton, you could use your baton. But, you know, there's deadly force being applied to you, right? You are allowed to meet that force with equal or force that is above that to stop a threat. Right? I can't come in to you, right, because you cussing at me, calling me all kinds of names, and saying you're going to whoop my da-da-da-da-da-da, and me pull out my firearm and point it at you and shoot you. That's not matching force, right? What your response appropriately should have been was verbal, right? A dialogue that looked to bring down, right, the heightened anger, hostility towards you, right, to bring it to a place of calm and a place of rational engagement to prevent anything from escalating forward, right? Your goal is to de-escalate as law enforcement. It was not to escalate, right? But the idea is that you're going to meet force, you're going to meet power with power, right? You're going to recognize your enemy. You're going to know the things that he has as his power, right? Be it guns, be it knives, be it missiles, be it drones, whatever it is. You're going to know. You're going to have done reconnaissance, You're going to have gained information. You are going to have access to this information by spies or people that go in for the purpose of just to gain information so that they can take that information and download that information to someone on a server that has the authority to look at and evaluate that information in order to present it to the people that are in charge in order to make a decision about what they're going to do and how they're going to conduct the warfare. Hey, Luke 14:25. And there went great multitudes with him, and he turned and said unto them, If any man come to me and hates not father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. Now understand this. Yahusha was the greatest of all times in the earth when it came to the wielding of power. No one's demonstration equaled his on the earth. He was a Torah made flesh. He was a spoken word of Yahuwah. And what he said came to pass because he believed in the power of the Ruach that Yahuwah gave to him, and as a son on assignment in the earth to redeem his people, he had to be in a position to win. Now, he had no doubts of his victory. He knew that he had everything he needed, right, to fight the warfare that he would be engaged in, right, to establish a victory so that he could pass down this legacy of power and this reconnaissance, right, to a people that would come after him, but a people that had to be prepared to endure this warfare until the end. The end is the end of the warfare, or the end is you having fought in the war and have died in the war, right, with a victory, having passed from death to life. He said, Yahusha said, if any man come to me, see, you have to understand that in order to be successful, Yasharal and Yehuda, grafted in Gentiles, you who have been born again of the water and the Ruach Ha'Qodesh, in order to understand this, you have to recognize that if you have chosen Mashiach Yahusha's witness, you have accepted the atonement, you have believed the report that he has taken away your sins. If you have believed the report that he has promised to give you a Ruach Ha'Qodesh and put his Ruach in you, if you have believed this report and you are his, right, you have had to have come to this conclusion. This what we're about to go in right now. You must have established this as fact. You must establish this as fact in you. Right? If any man comes after me, that's the Mashiach Yahusha, and hates not his father and mother, his wife, his children, his brother, his sister, yea, his own life, also he cannot be my disciple. You can't be in this witness, right? Putting the desires of mom and them, sisters and brothers in them, before Yahuwah. That's not a good warfare. No one goes to battle with the weight and the cares of these things on them. They must be focused on the task at hand, and that is getting the victory. And getting the victory means that if I got to let mom and them, father and them, wife and them, children and them brethren and them sisters, yea, even my own desires, right? If I ain't willing to let them go, right, to be able to fight this warfare, right, I can't be his disciple. I can't be a witness. I can't be a demonstration of his power. I have to be willing to assess my situation and determine whether or not these things are going to be a limitation to me. And if these things are a limitation to me, right, then I am not fit for battle. Can't do the work. Because these things will affect me. And I can't allow these things to affect me. You know, I love Yahuwah. I love my wife. I love my kids. Right? I love my kids. I care for my mama, my sisters. I care for all my family. Right? But ain't none of them gonna get away with me serving Yahuwah. No, I understand. I counted up the cost. Listen, I've decided that I'm serving Yahuwah at all costs. I don't care who cuts me off. I don't care who don't want to talk to me. It doesn't matter to me because I know the nature of the warfare, and I am convinced that as a disciple of Yahuwah, my demonstration's got to be like his. Yahusha was on the earth, right? Yahusha was on the earth. Not one time you hear about his mother or his brothers, except for the time he went down to Jerusalem. No, where was it at? Where was his family at? His family was Nazareth. He went to Nazareth, right, to do some ministry, but he couldn't do nothing there because they didn't believe on him, because they felt like they knew him. That's Joseph's boy. That's Joseph and Mary's son. He said he what? He a Mashiach. What? Okay. Yeah, he want to heal people, but they don't believe him. They don't believe him. Yahusha understood, right, that this could be a limitation if he allowed it. There was a point in which he was grieved that, he went to his own home, and, they didn't receive him. They didn't recognize the witness, the power in him. As a matter of fact, one brother said, listen, man, we get ready to go to Jerusalem. Stop. And this is my paraphrasing. I'm prefacing or paraphrasing. Look, let's leave Nazareth. Let's go to Jerusalem. And get busy down there. Demonstrate your power in front of them folk. We want to see you do your thing in Jerusalem. Yahusha said, well, I'm not going down. Yahusha had intentions of going, but he wasn't going down with them because they didn't believe in him. Right? Right? His father's mother. Now, the only other time you hear about his mother is when he's on the cross and he says, son, behold thy mother. Mother, behold thy son. He was making sure that the firstborn son ensured that the mother was taken care of. His biological mother. Y'all can't be holding on to mama now and expect to move in the power of Yahuwah. I ain't telling you not to love your mother. I'm not even telling you not to pray for your mother. But don't let that be a limitation to the warfare. Don't let that be no limitation to the warfare. And Hasatan is the master of warfare. Right? Right? But the thing is technically you got power over him. You got more. Let me slow down and back it up. Right? So he says, whosoever does not bear his cross. Whosoever doesn't take up this burden. Right? Because there are going to be times that you are going to be around people, but yet you're going to feel alone. There are going to be times that you want to do things, but you can't. Because you ain't going to let you. You got to be prepared to war a good warfare. You have to know your limitations and bolster your limitations, right? Right? And then you got to know how your enemy moves. You got to be able to discern how your enemy moves. He said, listen. He said, whosoever doesn't bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciples. If you aren't willing to do what Yahusha's done because of what he's made available to you in a restoration as a people and as a nation of people, what he has done for you of the other nations, considering your treachery and all that wicked diabolicalness that they've done to the people of you who are in these United States and everywhere else where they've taken them and scattered them, right? Right? If you ain't willing to gauge, fight, wage a good warfare, then you ain't worthy of a Mashiach. Worthy of him. Right? You got to count up the cost. He said, listen. For which of you, intending to build a tower, right, sitteth down first and count up the cost, whether he has sufficient to finish it? Who in their right mind go build a tower, right? A lookout post. Right? He's going to build it without having considered whether or not he has everything he needs to build it. What? Doesn't make sense. There's a need for preparation. You have to prepare yourself for the warfare. Right? You have to be prepared for the warfare. The rules of engagement, you have to understand them. He says here, lest happy after he have laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, all that behold it will look at him and laugh. This knucklehead. He done started building, laid the foundation, and don't got enough to finish the job. So you gonna walk around with this big round, say it was like a combine, right? You have laid this combine, right, foundation with the expectation of building it up, but you ain't count the cost, right? The man came and laid the foundation of the cement, and that ate up most of your money. And you like, man, how am I gonna finish this? You done told everybody you building a combine. right? Right, but you done laid the foundation, right? Right, you done laid the foundation, but you ain't considered what it was going to take to build it to the top before you got started. You done got into this witness, right? Born again of the water and the Ruach Ha'Qodesh, you ain't considered what it's going to take to endure to the end. You're in a warfare. You're in a battle for your life, for your soul. You know the enemy. And if you don't know the enemy, you need to look at and read the text, the Hebraic text, right? You need to understand what it is, what he is, and how he moves. When you understand who he is and how he moves, then you're more apt to be able to be successful in the battle. Listen. Saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. Yeah, he started out talking about Yahusha and faith in Yahuwah, but look at him now. He done gone back. He ain't serving Yahuwah no more. He ain't serving Yahuwah through faith in Yahusha no more. He didn't count up the cost. She didn't count up the cost. Oh, I just didn't want to, I don't want to leave my family. I told my kids, I said, listen, it's coming a time, and it's fastly approaching, that you better understand and discern the times, right? You better discern the time. You better see what the trajectory of this nation is. Because listen, you can stay here if you want to, but I'm not staying here. No, me and my wife, we ain't staying here. No, understand the trajectory, right? Know what the battlefield looks like. You gonna see what the battlefield look like. Some stuff ain't even rocket science. Ain't nothing gonna hold me back. No, not no thing. No thing. There's nothing that I love that much that will keep me here. Nothing. I told my kids, look, your daddy's been delivering a word, a Torah, and a Besorah. If you listen to it and take heed to it, it'll be life to you. If you don't, like your daddy's warring a good warfare, right? Ain't nobody coming before me and Yahuwah. Right? I got a purpose. I got to serve you. I gotta be prepared to declare a word. I gotta be ready to flee the daughter of Babylon. I gotta leave. I gotta flee the daughter of Babylon. I can't listen. There's a warfare, right? Right? Somebody say, "Oh, well, you just running, you retreating." No, I'm following the instructions of Yahuwah. He said, "Flee the daughter of Babylon." That's instruction. That's instruction. That's understanding his word, right? You have clarity because he's given you the Ruach of truth. You obeying him. I had a Hebrew get in my comments, right? And he was saying how, this is our land, right? That camp mentality, that believes that, we came over to this land and this land is their land. What? How can you come over to a land, according to Torah, that is not yours and make it yours? And make that make sense. Because in the scripture it says that they chose not to return to Jerusalem, but chose to go where they felt that they could go to serve their Yahuwah, to this land. So it wasn't yours. But Yahuwah gave you a way or a passage to this place, this area, for a season, till he gathers you to your land, right? That's the sense of the text. But you got to understand warfare. You got to understand what this witness is in Yahuwah through faith in Yahusha. You have to have his Ruach Ha'Qodesh to rightly divide the text, right? You going to war, you going to battle, right, without having proper reconnaissance. You're trusting in what somebody has said without having done the pure research. He says, this man has begun to build and has not able to finish. Some of y'all ain't gonna finish. Some of y'all feel like, well, you woke now. You recognize you the people, right? Ain't born again of the water and the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. Don't have the Ruach Ha'Qodesh the first, right? You ain't finished. You ain't finished. Some of y'all totally not done. You're serving these L's in Catholicism and Christianity and all of these pagan offsprings and morphs and you believe in that, you're right and you're wrong. 31. Or what king goes and make war? Who goes and make war against another king, sitting not down first and consulting whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000? Who? See, now these are the kind of odds that in the Ruach Ha'Qodesh aren't unequal. See, because if you a bro and you born again of the water and the Ruach Ha'Qodesh, Yahuwah has already demonstrated that one would put 1,000 to flight, two would put 10,000 to flight, that serve him. Right? But you still consider your enemy. You still understand how he likes to approach, how he has maneuvered in the past. You recognize his moves, his ins, and his outs. You witness what he's done to cause people to lose their fight and him to take them under his dominion. Right? You've learned, you've watched, but you have accessed. You've consulted with your ox and your coatees. They had a Ruach Ha'Qodesh. I ain't just consulting with them. Listen, you know it too, right? I don't listen to a bunch of people. I don't. Don't even bother sharing this person and that person, because I just don't. Because I just don't. And if I do listen to you, it's because you were told me to. Okay, listen to that. Well, I don't do that, right? I really don't. That's something like, can't nobody tell you nothing? Yahuwah, by the Ruach Ha'Qodesh, will tell me. And if it's you that he tells me to listen to, then I will. But I just don't. I don't listen to every Hebrew rap artist. No, I don't. Some of y'all rap and still use corrupt communication, right? Still cussing. Ain't nothing changed about you. You just switched hats. Instead of whoremonger and whatever else is on there, you just change hats. Language the same, conversation the same, right? Still treat women the same, still treat people the same. That's not this. You that ain't this. You ain't in this witness. You ain't born again of the water and Ruach Ha'Qodesh, right? Y'all Negroes on the corner screaming at people, right? Calling people out of their names, right? using profanity, corrupt communication. No man goes to war against the king and sits down first and consults whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him that comes up against him with 20,000. Right? Or else while the other is yet a great way away, he sendeth an ambassador to desire conditions of peace. Conditions of peace. He got 10,000 men. 10,000 men. The other king has 20. You know, his men, he know they don't have courage. Right? He know they're not as skilled or skillful in their weaponry. They don't qualify like the 37 of Talmiyd. David had 37 men. Right? 37. We just finished that up in 2 Samuel, I think it's the 24th chapter. The men of renown. You ain't got that. You ain't got that brew that is filled with the Ruach Ha'Qodesh that when you call him and you pray for him, together you move mountains. You ain't got that. You don't have it. So what you got to do is you got to negotiate. You got to hope that this coming against you, you got to negotiate. In order for you to preserve your kingdom and your people, you may agree to tribute. Well, we'll pay you tribute. We'll allow you to put a garrison in our community. But we're going to be our own kingdom. People going to serve our own. We're going to do our thing, but we're going to pay you tribute. That's what the Catholic Church did. Yeah, they sent their garrisons, their priests, Catholicism, killing people. Are you paying? We kill you. Slaying people, right? Yahuwah didn't care about pagans serving their gods in their lands. They just had to get up out of his. There's going to come a time when Yahusha's going to reign on the earth, and we are going to be a people that is going to be a light to the world, but these other people will still be worshiping their elves. You care less about you serving an elf. I could care less about you serving an elf. My word, the word you gave to me, is to warn Yasharal and Yahuda to come out from among them and be separate. You can serve Christian insanity if you want to. You can serve Catholicism if you want to. Hell, you can walk around a cobblestone. You can be bobbing and weaving and kissing the wall. You can do all of that. I don't care about that. But the people of Yahuwah is called by his name. They are the people that Yahuwah requires to serve him because they are in a covenant with him through Abraham, Yitzhak, and Jacob. And they enter in to warfare, to battle, right? They become integral in the demonstration of bringing the kingdom forward, right? Bringing the kingdom forward because they have received to Mashiach Yahusha's witness. Because they have been born again of the water, the blood, and the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. He says, or also while the other is yet a great way off, he sendeth an ambassador and desires conditions of peace. Right? I have no Yahusha has no conditions of peace, right, with the world. Now, those who Yahuwah has chosen from amongst the nations and from amongst Yasharal and Yehuda, right? Oh, yeah. He has peace for them, right? Because they shifted. They've changed. Right? He says here. Right? Right? So likewise, whosoever he be that forsaketh not all that he has can't be my disciple. You ain't worthy of battle. You ain't worthy of the warfare. You're not worthy of the battle. You're not worthy of the warfare. Listen. Let's do this real quick. Right. There's a transference of dominion. Right? Transference of dominion. Right? In order to know that you can fight the enemy, you have to understand that there is power, right? There's power that is given to you because you believe. You've counted up the cost. Let's go to Ephesians 1:13. He says here, right? Let's start. Matter of fact, let's start at 12. That we should be to the praise of his glory who trusted in a Mashiach, fit to fight, right? Ready for battle, ready to properly engage in a warfare, right? He says here, listen. In whom also ye trusted, right? You've moved your allegiance. Recognize this dominion that you've moved into, this kingdom, this power and authority that you've come under, right? You trusted. When you heard the word, the Torah, the Besorah, that is the truth. See, the kingdom that you served, right, was a kingdom built on lies. Right? Kingdom built on lies. It did not come with eternal promises, right, of life eternal, right? But it came with all that you can possess, and that ain't even everybody. That's everybody that is sacrificed to him. The dominion. The kingdom of Hasatan. Then there is this seat of elevation. There's this place where they can rise. Not all of them. Because everybody can't be it, and everybody can't have it. Only those that they want to have it. All right, so now listen, right? You heard the word of truth, the Besorah. The Besorah of salvation. The Besorah of salvation. Not the God spell. There is no spell. There's no God spell. The Besorah, right? Of your yeshu'ah. In whom after you believed in Yahuwah. Through faith in Yahusha. Right? You were sealed with power. You were sealed with the Ruach Ha'Qodesh that came with promises. It was the Ruach Ha'Qodesh promise because Yahusha gave a Torah that promised that you could receive a Ruach Ha'Qodesh. So therefore it is the Ruach Ha'Qodesh that came with the promise, right? He says, and it's just a down payment. It's the earnest of your inheritance, right? You have now given a inheritance. You are now given an inheritance. It's a down payment. You have to battle good warfare. You got to fight a good warfare. You know, it's a shame, right? Right? That you go and you serve these nations. You fight for their military. Right? You lay your life down. Right? You lay your life down. Right? You leave your family at a disadvantage. Your son without a male head. Your daughter without a male protector. Right? To sacrifice yourself for the king and country, for the nation and the president. Right? Sometimes you come back trauma, mental trauma, that your children and everybody else have to live with. Right? You come back with disabilities, arms, legs, right? Don't have them anymore. Right? And you have this government that asks you to go to war, that use you as cattle fire, and when you return, right, you have to fight for benefits. You willingly sacrifice yourself for the interests of this nation, right? But when you apply for assistance, they deny you. They make you jump through all of these hoops, right? Because they needed you when they needed you, but once you came back and you got all of this stuff, you know, all of a sudden it's, it's going to take time. We're going to deny you. You gotta fight. You gotta get lawyers to show that you deserve it, when in actuality, by virtue of you being in that system, serving it, you deserve it. Right? The lies of that dominion, who serves its own interests. See. We have an inheritance. An eternal inheritance, having changed dominions and governments, prepared to war a good warfare, ready to sacrifice it all, even unto death, hating his life, because he knows that in the end there is eternal life. Knowing that in this kingdom, having served Yahuwah, he will meet all my needs according to his riches in Mashiach Yahusha. There ain't nothing that I don't need in Yahuwah. Right? Nothing. No thing. No thing. Right? He's given me an inheritance, the purchased possession, to the praise of his glory. Right? Right? He has. Right? Verse 17. Right? He says, that Adonai Yahusha, the Abba of glory, that Yahuwah of our Adonai Yahusha, Mashiach, the Father of glory, may give unto you the Ruach Ha'Qodesh of wisdom and revelation in the knowledge of him. Power. Right? Power. Right? The eyes of your understanding being enlightened, that ye may know what is the hope of your calling and what the riches of the glory of the inheritance is in the saints. See, you went from the dominion of darkness to the kingdom of Yahuwah Zabaoth. You now operate under the dominion and the leadership of Yahuwah, and you are prepared to warfare. Why? Because you receive power. You receive the Ruach of wisdom and revelation. By the Ruach of wisdom and revelation, coupled with the Torah and the Besorah of truth, you gain insight and understanding as it relates to a warfare. He says that the eyes of your understanding being enlightened, that ye may know what is the hope of your calling and what the riches of the glory of the inheritance in the saints. Listen, in this United States of America, U.S. Army, I have no thing. Having served, I have no thing. Denied, no thing. But in the kingdom of Yahuwah, under the dominion of Yahuwah, listen, I have riches. I have glorious inheritance. Listen, I have access to houses and lands. I ain't talking about in the United States of America. I ain't talking about that. This ain't your land. This ain't your land. Regardless of what you may want to think or feel, this is not your land. This is not the land that Yahuwah gave to Shem by Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. This is not the land of Canaan. This is the land of the daughter of Babel. This is not Canaan. Just because you came over here doesn't mean it's the land of Canaan. Just because you didn't want to return to your land and ended up over in this land doesn't make it the land of Canaan. Doesn't make it the land of Yahuwah. Doesn't make it the land that flows with milk and honey. It doesn't. Actually, they saw to that. Everything they put into the ground, all these chemicals, all this stuff that they've used to harvest, all these GMO, EMOs, and CMOs, and KMOs. EFMOs. All this they put in here. You go ahead. This ain't the land of Canaan. This ain't your land, Yasharal and Yahuda. I ain't mad that you want to stay here, stay here. Right? But you're going to suffer the judgment. Somebody said, well, how you going to teach people that? That's not truth. You know, it's interesting how people make statements, right? But they don't support it with any scripture. They make statements as if that statement is going to sway the truth of Torah. My demonstration is always Torah. I take you to a text and we read the text. And if you want to explore the text later and even cross-reference it, you can. Right? This is not our land. This is not our inheritance. You don't come under the dominion and the kingdom of Yahuwah and he don't take care of you. He says, the eyes of your understanding being enlightened, that ye may know what is the hope of your calling and what the riches of the glory of the inheritance that is in the saints, and what is the exceeding greatness of his power. Right? His power to usward who believe. Right? Now let's look at that word power, right? Again, we looked at that word power before, but you got to have power when you're in a war, right?
Strong's G, 1411, dunamis.
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 That's the Greek, right? Strength, power, ability. Inherent power. Power residing by virtue of a thing's nature, virtue of its nature, right? Yahuwah has put his nature in you, right? Power for performing miracles, his nature, right? Right? Acts 1:8. But ye shall receive power after the Ruach Ha'Qodesh is come upon you. And ye shall be witnesses both in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria and the uttermost parts of the earth. Power. Right? Power. That power is dunamus. See, when you understand what you have. As a matter of fact, let's look at the definition of power. Let's look at the definition of power. Power. Merriam-Webster. Ability to act or produce an effect. Yahuwah has given you a power. He's given you the ability to act or produce an effect. Power. To wage a warfare. To engage an enemy. To put 1,000 to flight. 2,000, 10,000. Put 10,000 to flight. Possession of control, authority, or influence over others. Power. Over what? Over who? Right. Listen, we gotta hit the scripture real quick over here. Right. You, right? Yasharal and Yehuda, right? You he has given power, the working of his mighty power, and what the exceeding greatness is of his power to us who believe. It goes back to Luke. Right? Yahusha. He says, if any man come to me and hate not father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yet his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whosoever does not bear his cross cannot follow me. He says here, what does it say? He says, whosoever does not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciples. For which of you intend? I would develop but he finishes. Wherefore can 1,000 will be ambassadors of peace. Man, where's that? I must have read it up here. Oh. In whom also ye have trusted, have you heard the word of Yahuwah, the Besorah unto yeshu'ah, right? Salvation, in whom ye believed. You have to believe. Right? You have to believe in the power. What is the greatness of his power to us who believe? Right? Who believe. You can't just start building on something and then turn away from it. You got to believe. You can't build the foundation to something, right, and not count up the cost. You got to believe. You got to continue to lay bricks. You don't go to war and wage a warfare without reconnaissance. Knowing who your enemy is and knowing what your power, your capabilities are. The ability to act or produce an effect, right? Possession, control, authority, or influence over others. Physical might. He says here, right? What the exceeding greatness is of his power to us, right? Who believe. According to the working of his power, which he wrought when he raised Mashiach from the dead and set Mashiach at his own right place in heavenly places, far above all principalities and powers and mights and every name that is named not only in this world, but that to come. We serve under a kingdom that has been elevated in power above all principalities, dominions, and mights, in every name that is named not only in this world, but in the world to come, right? You have he quickened. He's giving you life, right? Let's go to the second chapter, right? You have he quickened who were dead in your sins, serving under a kingdom and a dominion that didn't care about your future. They just needed your body. They needed you for cattle. Was it cattle fire? They needed you to advance their agenda. In times past, according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the Ruach that now works in the children of disobedience, it don't work in you. Because you've received power. You serve under a different dominion. You have a kingdom that is a sure kingdom, and the warfare you wage gives you power over principalities and powers and dominions and darknesses. Through Mashiach Yahusha's witness, if you believe. You got to believe that this witness is more valuable than father, mother, sister, brother, wives, children, and all that stuff. This witness. Right? You got to believe it. Right? Among whom also we used to live, had our manner of conversations in time past, and the lust of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature the children of wrath, right? But Yahuwah, who is rich in mercy, for his great love, wherewith he loved us, even when we were dead, serving under a different dominion, right? Powerless. He quickened us together with Mashiach. He did the same thing that he did with Mashiach, right? 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 Which, Ephesians 1 and 20, which he wrought when he raised Mashiach from the dead and set him at his own right hand in heavenly places, Mashiach Yahusha. Right? Right? Far above principalities and powers and dominions and mights and dominions, and every name that is named, not only in this world, but in the world to come. Dominion, power, ability that you lacked, serving a dominion that did not have your interest at heart, warring a warfare that didn't care about you. It's administration, right? Doesn't care about you. They say they do, but they don't. Everything they do is a direct conflict to them representing caring about you. And when the time comes, right, they're going to show you that they don't care about you. Right? Taking jobs away from the United Snakes of America to other nations, putting them in other nations, people leaving. This nation doesn't care for you. You ain't going to have no job to feed your family. Take care of your kids. This nation doesn't care about you. It's the dominion of darkness. Listen, in these other countries, it's still the same. It's not until you come under, having counted the cost of the witness of Yahusha HaMashiach, that you are going to ever enter into life and enter into rest. Now you're going to have to fight. You're going to have to fight a good warfare. You're going to have to defend. Right? But the defense and the power to defense is already available to you if you're born again of the water of the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. Yahuwah's Ruach in you is power. Exceedingly great power. It's to us because we believe the witness. Right? Right? Let's go back. Let's go back to Ephesians 2. He says, who raised the Mashiach from the dead and made us sit together, made us sit together, made us sit together, made us sit together in heavenly places in Mashiach Yahusha, that in the age to come he may show exceedingly riches in his grace and kindness towards us through Mashiach Yahusha. That's the reign and dominion of Mashiach Yahusha in the earth. Yasharal and Yehuda, there's a rest. Right? Look, even though the daughter of Babylon is going to be destroyed, right? We are instructed to flee Babylon. When we leave Babylon, right, and go to our lands, right, or the areas or the territories that are considered Middle Earth or Sub-Saharan Africa, right? Right? When we go there, right, there will come a time when even if we leave here, he's going to gather us and bring us all together into the land. Somewhere in Congo. I'm saying. Somewhere Sub-Saharan Africa. Right? Because he cares. Right? For grace are you saved through faith, is not of yourselves, the gift of you who is not of works, as any man should boast. So, you got power. You have the ability now to maneuver and to do the things that are necessary to win the battle. Now, in this, having counted up the cost, you recognize that you have to endure to the end. Right? Right? This is about enduring to the end. You have to be prepared to endure to the end. Right? You have power. Right? And with that power, right? Mark 16:14. Afterwards, he appeared unto the 11 as he sat at meat and upbraided them for their unbelief. He upbraided them for their unbelief. He got on them because they didn't believe. And the hardness of their hearts because they allowed their hearts to be hard. Right? Because they believed not them which had seen him after he was risen. Right? He said unto them, listen, you got to go into the world. You are my disciples. You have received this witness. You have the Torah of truth. He said, listen, go into all the world and do what? Preach the good news. The Besorah. Right? Herald the world. I'm preaching the Besorah to you now. This is what he's doing. You know, and the thing is that I have the opportunity to preach this Besorah, this Torah, and reach those that Yahuwah has chosen. Now, I'm just throwing seed everywhere. It's going out, but the people that Yahuwah has chosen going to lock in. He says here, he that believes and is baptized, instructions, right, shall be saved. But he that believe not shall be damned. You believe, you make a decision, you count up the cost, right? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Served in his military, right? That Fort McClellan, Alabama. Soldier. Going through training, everything. Chemical training, everything. The base was condemned. Right? Because of the chemical pollution that was in the waters and in the grounds. And it's been there pretty much since the beginning of the base and the establishment of the police academy. Police and chemical training. Right? I forget what year they detected and when they realized it was there, but you know, we've been drinking the water, we're doing everything there. And as a result, down the road, there's certain conditions that these soldiers that were at that base kept coming up. Right? They found out, people found out. They went to court, they won. They offered a settlement, settled. They didn't notify everybody. I was at that base. 6 months, 7 months. Don't only take that long. Don't even take that long to be infected. Everything. Now listen, right? I love you. He's made me whole. He has. Because I received power. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, but he that believeth not gonna be damned. These signs shall follow them that believe in my name. They shall cast out devils. They will speak with new tongues. They will take up serpents. If they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. Right. The benefits of serving under a righteous dominion and kingdom. Not only are they going to see to your health, they're going to make sure you got an inheritance. That's Yahuwah saying, thank you for your serving me. Yahuwah shows mercies unto thousands of them that love him and keep my commandments. Thank you for service. Thank you for serving me. I'm bringing riches to you. I'm going to give you everything you need. Thank you for your service. Thank you, right? Thank you for loving me more than father, mother, wife and children, brother and sisters, and his own life, my own life. Thank you. Right? Because I'm going to compensate you for your demonstration, right? For what you've chosen to do in this warfare. Having counted up the cost, recognizing there is sacrifices. But in the end, I got something for you. I'm going to give you power and authority as a soldier. I'm going to let you know before you even get into the fray that you got power. I'm going to let you know before you get into the fray you got power. Your power is superior. See, because your power, right, comes because you believe. Right? Because in the name of Yahusha, right, you'll cast out devils. In the name of Yahusha, you speak in new tongues. In the name of Yahusha, you'll take up serpents. In the name of Yahusha, if you drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt you. In the name of Yahusha, you'll lay hands on the sick and a recover. You're going to be a demonstration of power as you fight against this dominion of darkness, whose goal is to war with you until he can war no longer. He's going to war with you until you leave this earth. But here's the blessing attached, is that you have an inheritance and you can make it, you can endure, because you have a particular set of skills. I thought I was going to get to the skills today, but you took me to something different. Right? We're going to pick up on this one. But listen, man of Yah, woman of Yah, right? You got power. Right? You got power. Right? You got power. Listen. Where is it? Let me see. I think this is what I want. I think this is it. Yeah. Matthew, we'll finish off with this one. Matthew 16 and 18. Right. You got power. Right. We talked briefly. And this is the foundation scripture, right? Right. Let me get this one first. Now I, Paul, I shall beseech you by the meekness and gentleness of Mashiach, who in presence, based among you, but being absent, I'm bold towards you. I beseech you that I may not be bold when I am present with that confidence, wherewith I think to be bold against some, which think of us as if we walk according to our flesh. Right? Because though we walk in the flesh, we do not war in the flesh. Right? For the weapons of our warfare, power, Yahuwah's given it to us. He's given it to us. For the weapons of our warfare, right? Weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through Eluah to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imagination and everything that exalteth itself against Adonai Yahusha, and bringing into captivity every thought into the obedience of a Mashiach. Yahusha was obedient unto death, right? The power that you receive brings you into this obedience even to the end, right? Even to the end, right? Right, Matthew. Right. Let's start at real quick. Let's start at 13. And Yahusha came into the coast of Caesarea Philippi. He asked his disciples, saying, "Who do men say that the son of Adam is?" What? And they said unto him, "Some say that thou art John the Baptist, some Elias, and some Jeremiah, Yahu, or one of the other prophets." Right? Right? He said unto them, "But who do you say I am?" Right? Who do you say that I am? And Simon answered unto him, "Thou art Mashiach, the son of the living Yahuwah." And Yahusha said unto him, "Blessed art thou, Simon Bar Jonah, for flesh and blood have not revealed this unto you, but Abba, my Abba, which is in the Shamayim." And he said unto him, "Thou art Peter, and upon this rock," right, this foundation, "I will build the assembly," not no church building, no brick, but the assembly of people, "and the gates of hell," right, principalities and powers, dominions and darknesses, and rulers against this present age, right, "shall not prevail against it." Why? Because I will give unto thee the kingdom, the keys to the kingdom. I'm going to give you the source, the authority to operate in the kingdom as I have. Right? Right? Because there's going to be a warfare, right? Right? There's going to be a warfare because this kingdom of darkness, right, that's working in opposition against the revelation of a Mashiach Yahusha, this power that I bruise his head, right? You're going to have the keys to do it. He said, "I'm giving you the keys to the kingdom of heaven. And whatsoever you bind on earth, whatever that you bind on earth, right, shall be bound in the Shamayim. Whatever you loose on earth is loosed in heaven." Listen, you're going to be able to do this because of what I am doing, I'm going to get the keys of death and hell, and I am going to be raised in power, and I'm going to give you the same authority to operate as I did, to be the witnesses that I need you to be, to fight a warfare that I need you to be engaged in. You got to prepare to take this warfare to the end. You got to be prepared to engage in battle to the end. You got to be prepared to go to the end. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, hear the word of Yahuwah. Right? You got to be ready to take this battle to the end. Right? We're going to close out this Shabbat lesson today to Hezekiah confess. If you confess with your mouth Yahusha, Mashiach, and believe in your heart that Yahuwah has raised Yahusha Mashiach from the dead, believe. And believe that this resurrection is possible for the cleansing of your sins, the atonement for you. Then you'll receive Yeshua. Right? Then you are a candidate for the Ruach Ha'Qodesh. Right? But you have to be prepared to fight the fight until the end. Got to be prepared for the war. And we're going to talk about how do we prepare for the warfare next time. Listen to another of the Hezekiah against the tongues titled to confess. Abba Yahuwah, I thank you for the word you've given me to give to them on this Shabbat. I pray that this word will come alive in them. Abba, I know this word's not for everybody, but it's for somebody. And I pray for those that are the somebody, they would receive this word and they would grow and be strengthened by this word. I also pray that they will take this word and share it with someone else who needs to hear this word. Abba, I thank you for all that you are and all that you do. Abba, let the words of my mouth and meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. Yahuwah, my strength and our Redeemer. Man of Yah, called the greatest. Woman of Yahuwah, beautifully and wonderfully made. It's the Shabbat. And may Yahuwah bless you. And may you find rest on this Shabbat. And may you stand up in the power of Yahuwah's Ruach Ha'Qodesh that he's putting you to be the examples of righteousness. Go and be at rest today. In the name of Mashiach, with that I say, slow, 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 be blessed.
Torah Garden, speaking the absolute truth. Torah Nation.